Hi, I'm Maya. I'm at Eating Disorder Solutions, and this is my recovery story. It wasn't actually my choice. My eating disorder convinced me that I wasn't sick and I wasn't unhealthy in any way, and that I was normal and that I was just some superhuman who could be doing the behaviors that I was doing prior. And my parents sat me down and told me they found this place in Weatherford that's really just a holistic place, and it's not in a hospital setting, and it's really unique, and they know how much I loved spending time in nature and how healing it was for me. So them telling me that and kind of just telling me that this is where you're gonna go, and we think it's gonna be great for you. And I was very, very against it. I wasn't ready for that help. I wasn't accepting yet that I am sick and, I do need help in recovery. And also just, I had started somewhat of an outpatient recovery, but I was too scared to take that first step. I felt lost. I didn't know what I was doing or really how to begin. And so I finally just released that, accepted that I didn't have a choice at this point. And then once I got here, I realized that, I do need this help and it's gonna get me started, and since then I just haven't looked back. I have grown up with having thoughts of body dysmorphia. I started dancing when I was 3 years old, and I was constantly looking in the mirror. And, when you're dancing, you're kind of built with this expectation to fit a certain image, and it was really hard for me growing up, So I always kind of had body dysmorphia thoughts, and then it wasn't until around summer of 2024 I finally just did something. I thought it was just me making a lifestyle change in college, and it started out so innocently. I didn't mean to develop these severe symptoms and this addiction with over-exercising and not nourishing my body enough. I was working out for 4 hours a day maybe, not eating nearly enough, and I just saw it as losing a little weight. I'm a college student. When you go to college, you're eating unhealthier things, and so I just thought of it as me just kind of toning up. That was my goal. And then I dropped a lot of weight very quickly and just thought that, it's because I'm working out so much. Like, I'm just this kind of superhuman who's the gym girl in the friend group and the healthy one. But really, I didn't see how scary it got that quickly. And once I decided to try recovery myself, it actually got worse because I wasn't ready to let that part go of me. So I've always had the thoughts but never took action. And then I innocently was starting something that became the eating disorder that I developed. I think it was inevitable. It was going to happen. Just with our society as is, the way it is. And also, having divorced parents at both houses, when both of your parents start the keto diet when you're 8 years old, and kind of learning that carbs are bad at such a young age and bread is evil, and hearing those phrases, and your mom, who you think is the most beautiful person in the world, saying, I just need to lose 10 pounds, and just growing up with that mindset, and then being on social media at such a young age, all of those negative factors, the Victoria's Secret model ab workouts. I just remember my sister and I doing those in our movie room, and just, again, the dancing, the wanting to fit a certain image, being on my high school drill team, being kind of told you're the face of our establishment, like you represent this community. And so just all that pressure, I just finally cracked, and I wanted to just, look a certain way. I actually started the working out and the eating healthy because I wanted to build muscle and be strong, but I just made myself weaker and weaker because I also wanted to shrink myself. And it's kind of hard to grow muscle and shrink yourself at the same time, so I was just really confused, and I think it was just a big buildup of symptoms over time until I was on my own, I'm not under my parents' roof. They're not cooking for me. And so it just kind of all happened, and just I didn't even realize how abnormal it was. I was approached in a loving manner from both my mom and my dad, which, having divorced parents, you don't get that as much. So the second I saw my dad pull up in the driveway, I was like, oh gosh, it's happening. But they just kind of, were very realistic, like, you're gonna die. And I'm looking back on it, I'm lucky to have made it as far as I did. I'm lucky to still be alive. I'm lucky that EDS even took me, And they just told me that, like, this isn't something that you are equipped to do, and this isn't something that we're equipped to do either. So they found EDS, and they actually came out here and toured it. And they told me they were touring, and they asked if I wanted to go, and I was still convinced that I would convince them that I don't need to go to treatment. And so I didn't go on the tour, but they toured it, came back, said it was really great, but we'll wait until after the holidays to make a final decision. And then before Christmas, they kind of told me, like, you're never going to get better because you don't know how, It's an addiction. They really made it clear that it was an addiction. And so they researched a lot of places, both in Texas and out of state, Utah, California, other places in the area. But something about EDS too was the visitation and the ability to see my family, whether it be through virtual visits or in person, and just all of the kind of holistic approach that they take really stood out to them. They wanted me to feel like I was at a home. They wanted me to have a sense of my own place still, and like I was in a home where I'm cared for and nurtured for. I was terrified. I got here the day after Christmas, which was already hard in itself, and it was a cold, pouring, rainy day. The highways were flooded. I was like, is it really worth this to go? And I didn't know what to expect with treatment. I didn't know where I was going at all. I didn't really research EDS. I found what I could on Instagram and Google, but you don't know where you're going until you tour, until you get there. And I just remember walking in and feeling overwhelmed. And I immediately felt that sense of comfort. Everybody was just so smiley and welcoming, which automatically brings you that sense of peace and comfort. But they really just wanted to get to know me, not my eating disorder, which is something that I was so scared of. I thought before coming here, I just wanted to put it in the past behind me. And that was a big reason why I was opposed to treatment, was I was just ready to start a new chapter. But when I got here, the staff made 110% of their efforts in getting to know who is Maya, not who's Maya, the girl with the eating disorder, who is Maya, my client. They just wanted to know me. They, first and foremost, before even talking about my eating disorder, they asked me what my goals were in life. They just wanted to kind of know where I'm at, what motivates me. And they just really made me feel like I already had a family, the recovery coaches. Tamika, she feels like my mom. And when you're in recovery, you just want a mother's love. So when you feel like you have that in the staff at treatment, it just makes it 10 times easier. And it has really allowed me to express that vulnerability that I struggled to before. I feel safe and comfortable because I know that they care about me as an individual, not as a client. And they do that with everybody, They know every little detail of my life, and I can tell they care whenever I talk to them about it, which just makes me more willing and want to express my struggles or express my needs here. And when I do express those struggles or needs, they immediately act upon it because they want me to feel safe and comfortable here, And it's mind-blowing how whenever I do say I need something from a staff member for my recovery, it's done pretty much like 30 minutes later max, if it's feasible. So adjusted fairly quickly, and it was a hard adjustment at first, but it happened very quick. And if it weren't for the people here and for other clients making me feel so welcomed and loved and like I'm not alone, I don't think I could have done it. I took this semester off from college, which was extremely difficult to come to terms with. I love school, I love my education, I loved my friends, I loved the college lifestyle, and my eating disorder, the fall semester took that away from me. I was still in school, but I was living at home with my parents because I couldn't take care of myself, and a big reason I was opposed to coming to treatment was putting that part of my life on pause. And even being here, I came during winter break while all my friends were still at home, but being here knowing that they're back on campus, and it was very hard at first. Very, very hard, for sure, but the staff just kind of reaffirmed that my education will always be there, but you know, I have to put myself first and my recovery first. And they made me feel okay about that decision. It's hard, you know, whether you're in your 30s and working or in your 20s in college still, or whatever your life, putting your life on pause for recovery is extremely difficult, you know, especially going to a residential program. And the staff does an amazing job of reminding you why you're here, and it's to get back to that life that you are longing for, but as a healthy version of yourself. I wasn't accepting that taking time off school was an option. I had pretty much that 5-year plan. This is gonna happen in this order at this time, and treatment and recovery was not a part of that 5-year plan. So I pushed through, and I kept breaking myself down, and I got 10 times worse, and the addiction of my eating disorder grew 10 times stronger with that. Being here, I learned the importance of putting myself first in all aspects of my life. And that includes taking time off of school, you know? I can't get a degree if my brain is malnourished. I can't get a degree if I'm killing my body slowly every day. Being here and getting that nourishment and that brain fuel, I'm gonna go back to school 10 times healthier and make so many great memories with my friends that my eating disorder took away from me in the first place. A part of connection just in the social realm is through food, and I isolated myself from that connection with my friends because of the fear of the food. And now I'm looking forward to going back and enjoying those spontaneous ice cream trips with my girlfriends, or, you know, dinners with my family and all of that. And it just, going back and being able to show them that I did it and I'm a brand new person and I'm proud of myself is something I just absolutely cannot wait for. Here, we don't all know everybody's specific stories, but we all know we're here for the same reason. And something I've been saying a lot and just bringing up is I've started referring to EDS as home, and it's not because I sleep here every night, it's because of the people that make the place. It feels like home. And it just truly, like, the staff every morning, you know, they really get to know you on such a personal level. It's not just this is my job. This is their livelihood. You can tell this is their purpose. Their care that they pour into us really just fuels them, and it's just so much more motivating when you know you're surrounded by people who are cheering you on. You know that you have a constant support who, if you do take a few steps backwards or if you are struggling, they're there to help you and pick you right back up. So there's just constant love and motivation here that you're surrounded by, and it's just really, really fulfilling and heartwarming to see, and it keeps me going every day, honestly. There are so many different types of eating disorders, so eating disorder recovery isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, and the staff here really understand, and they just pour immense detail into your treatment plan. Nobody's treatment plan is the same. Everybody's is unique, and I think that's so special because when you Google how to recover from an eating disorder, you get step-by-step instructions, and that's kind of why it didn't work for me the first time. And since being here, I can tell how much they care about me as an individual and how much they care in the group by really paying attention to what works best for everyone, which you don't get at a lot of other places, you know? And they also just meet you where you're at. We all come in at different preparation levels of where we want to start in recovery and what we're able to do. Some people are able to accelerate really fast while others need to take baby steps, and they really just affirm you that it's okay and that recovery is a journey. It's not just you're here for however long you're in residential and then you're done, you know? It's a long, lifelong process, and they really just help you every step of the way and meet you where you're comfortable at, making adjustments when needed, checking in all the time. You know, anytime I get a meal plan increase or after a therapy session when I talk about something, it's, hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing with this? XYZ. So it's just really just taking those steps and pouring themselves into every client. You can tell that this is their purpose and this is what fulfills them, and it just makes it 10 times more special being here for sure. Everything just really feels so homey. It feels comfortable being here. All the couches upstairs, all the blankets, you know, you don't feel like you're in a treatment facility. Being outside, being able to sit in the sunshine and read a book, or even sometimes we do groups outside when it's nice outside, and just being able to look at the fields and the cows and petting all the dogs and Tuna the cat, you know, it makes it feel like home. I feel like I have my own space. And the bedrooms, you know, I was kind of nervous about having a roommate just because I'd just had one for 2 years in college, and then I'd finally gotten my own room again, and then it was like I'm going back to having a roommate. But it's kind of special, you know, accelerates creating those bonds with other people, and the facility is just so well taken care of, you know. They're constantly asking for feedback if we need anything fixed, and Casey does an incredible job of getting those issues that we have with the facility fixed pretty much the next day, you know. So they really care about making us feel like we're at home and feeling like we do have a space here, which is just amazing. I think just the constant affirmation from both my friends here and the staff that I'm killing it, I'm doing great, I'm doing everything, and just people seeing that, because it's kind of hard to see it in yourself, you know. The eating disorder tries to lie to you, and it lies to me by saying you're not doing enough, or, you know, you could be doing this to get better, or are you accelerating at the right pace? And it's scary not knowing, and everybody just constantly telling me that I'm doing great. And also just when I do open up and share my story, just people thanking me for being vulnerable, because I never allowed myself to be vulnerable. I didn't think that I was allowed to. And in process group, just people saying like, thank you for opening up and sharing that part, and hearing how other people relate to my story here, it makes me feel so much less alone, because I did feel alone before I came here. Nobody really understands unless they're in it, or they've seen it, or they've lived it, and everybody here has lived a certain aspect. You know, none of our stories are the exact same, but they get the feeling, and it just makes me feel so much less alone knowing that I have support from people who understand the whole realm of what the eating disorder is. You know, it's not just about the food, and some people just don't get that, but people here do, and they always have my back, and it just makes me feel like I'm so understood and loved. Our chefs are incredible. There hasn't been a meal in my 40 days, and we eat a lot here, and there hasn't been a meal that I haven't liked, which is shocking. And at first the food can be scary. You know, a big thing for me was not having control of what I was eating, not knowing what was in the food. And their cooking has been a huge healing thing for me, and just letting that go. Taking the bravery and putting the fork to my mouth, and just experiencing how much love they really pour into their cooking. You can tell that they are passionate about making the food that goes on our plate every day. And the cooking groups are so much fun. We did a baking group for a few weeks where we just kind of made little desserts, and we got to have those as our snacks. And sometimes we'll help with dinner prep, which is so great. It's been really healing for me to help with the dinner prep because I'm cooking for the people I love and helping their recovery as well. And actually, a part of my therapy and my treatment plan is being in the kitchen once a day, because that was something that I expressed was a huge struggle for me and kind of what fueled my eating disorder. And so just them allowing that to be part of my therapy has really allowed me to progress in my treatment and my confidence in going home and being able to take care of myself. And both Haley and Kay really educate me on, kind of how to do certain things in the kitchen, why they do things the way they do. And they're just so knowledgeable and passionate and pour so much love into our nourishment, which is just amazing. The great thing about both of our chefs here is they care about us as individuals, just as much as the staff. Even though they're in the kitchen all day, they make conversations. They know about my family and my sisters, and they ask me questions about myself. It just shows how amazing the staff is here, that our chefs pour that much love into us, not only through our nourishment, but also just into our personal lives. It just adds to that feeling of safety and comfortability at EDS for sure. The psychoeducation has been really great for me. We have 2 psychoeducation groups a day, led by both of our therapists here. And they're about different topics and just really covering, it's not just about the eating disorder, One group usually focuses on the eating disorder, but another just focuses about our feelings. And something big when I first got here, you lose your identity when you develop an eating disorder. That eating disorder becomes your sense of identity. And EDS really works on helping us find our true identity, what our morals and values and what fuels us, discovering our true purpose in our life, because our true purpose and our identity is in our eating disorder. And the eating disorder lies to us and tells us that. And EDS makes such amazing strides through that psychoeducation to kind of allow us to reflect on those hard questions and just open up and be vulnerable. I've developed so many coping skills. I came in here with none. 0 coping skills whatsoever. And I'm going to leave here with coping skills for really different situation, whether it's just a crisis or I just need a moment. Something that we practice here every day is just a short little grounding meditation, which just really calms our nervous system and prepares us for another day of treatment. And it just really, I find it soothing. It brings me back to earth and allows me to really check into my body for those 5 or so minutes, because especially when you're in group or you're constantly doing something. And so just having that time to just really check in with yourself and experience your emotions and ask yourself where you're coming from and assessing the situation. Why do I feel this way? Where is this emotion coming from? Can I do anything about it right now? That's something that I've really developed while being here. Instead of just suppressing or running away with the emotion and engaging in negative behaviors, I've learned to allow myself to fully experience those emotions and just be vulnerable with them and ask myself, why am I feeling this way? Can I do anything about it? That's just been such a helpful coping skill, just taking a step back and looking at the situation in its entirety. Whereas before I would just suppress the emotion and ignore it, put on the brave face. Physically and mentally, I feel like a brand new person. I look completely different, which is great. I look healthy. There's light back in my eyes. But prior to coming here, I had no emotions, People used to ask me, when was the last time that you laughed genuinely? And I couldn't even remember. I went through every day feeling nothing, feeling numb, just feeling like I was going through the motions like a robot, essentially. And since if you told me that I would wake up at 7 a.m., bouncing off the walls, saying good morning to everybody, being excited to be alive, I wouldn't have believed you because I didn't think it was possible. So mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, I feel almost reborn because my eating disorder took my life away from me, and I'm not my old self, but I'm this brand new person, and I'm getting a new life back. And this is a new Maya that everybody's going to see once I complete this program, and I'm so grateful for that. I actually am going to start PHP this Sunday, part-time hospitalization. And I'm very fortunate that I only live about 45 minutes to an hour away, so I'll be commuting to and from EDS Monday through Friday from 8 to 4, so I'm really excited to kind of start applying what I've learned back at home and back in the real life, and learning how to use those coping skills that EDS really educates us on into the real life world when I do get triggered. But also something so special as I prepare to take that next step in my recovery journey, the staff, Lauren, the dietitian, and my therapist have really been working on me with, identifying how am I going to take what I've learned here to support both my physical recovery with the nourishment, but also my mental recovery when I do get triggered outside of here. So they really prepare you for taking those real world steps in that transition. And I'm super excited to start that transition, and that, if I do get triggered or something, that I can come back here to this safe space and talk to anyone about it, and they'll kind of help me get back on the saddle and just keep propelling in my recovery journey. So I'm super excited to take these next steps. I'm nervous, but a good nervous excitement, and just even being here, going to restaurant night every Thursday, that was something I hadn't really experienced because my eating disorder took it away. So I've slowly been integrating into the real world, but now I'll get kind of more of that. And that's something so great about that part-time hospitalization program that EDS has. In one word, it would be life-changing. And I know that can sound cliche, but EDS gave me a second chance at life. I didn't realize how unhealthy I was at all. And I was actually so unhealthy that they were very hesitant about accepting me into their program, as opposed to me being in a hospital for a few weeks prior. And I'm just so grateful that they believed in me, that they continue to believe in me, that they support me no matter what. I'm just so grateful that not only did they give me a chance, but they gave me a second chance at my life. I didn't think I could recover at all. I didn't know how to. And something that they tell me all the time here is, we're just giving you the guidelines and the treatment plan, but you're doing the work and you're doing everything you need to. They've shown me what it means to love myself and all my flaws. And I've never loved myself. I've never had that self-compassion and kindness and gratitude for my life, and I've really learned that here. So, yeah, life-changing is just the only word I can give it, really. I used to be in that position where I thought I didn't need help. I thought I wasn't sick enough, as they say, and there is no sick enough. There's no rules to who deserves recovery and who doesn't, We all deserve to live a fulfilling life. There's nothing wrong with needing the help of other people and professionals to get the help and achieve your goals. To anybody who's thinking about starting treatment or looking for a facility, be scared and do it anyway. You'll never regret recovering from your eating disorder. I walked in the doors of EDS, and I'm so thankful that I never looked back, because I am getting that life that I always dreamed of having. And that's because I chose to recover for myself. Putting yourself first is the most healing thing you can do for yourself. Closing one chapter of your book and opening another. Having an eating disorder is nothing to be ashamed about. It wasn't your fault. You did nothing wrong. The eating disorder lies to you and tells you that you don't deserve food. You don't deserve to live. You don't deserve a fulfilling life when we are more than deserving. We don't have to earn a fulfilling life. We don't have to earn nourishment. Showing up as you are enough, and you are loved, and you are more deserving of recovery than you'll ever know.